Greetings, everyone. Keith here. Hoping everyone's having a good day. Enjoying life, living life, loving life. Be sure to hit those buttons, show your support. And there's a PayPal link below for anyone that wants to share some love. All is appreciated. And greetings, everybody. Sorry about the short delay there. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you today with some more of the insanity on the ladder of insanity, the insanity ladder, as people think that the law goes from the bottom up. And so if that's the pretense, then you must realize the law is within yourself. But before you can profess the law, you have to recognize where it actually comes from. And that is somewhere it trickled down into you, because you are certainly not the top. You're at the bottom, right? As an independent being within a society, you're certainly not president. You're certainly not king. You're certainly not queen. So let's take a look at it from the bottom up. First, let's start out with the introduction video.
Hold up, grab my soda cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape pape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes, or a gorilla in a cape is the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation, with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimations. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan, how you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation, with gross castration, in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation, you're a cheap imitation. Dark set hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over, it's been non-bit.
So, talking about the insanity and how it goes upward, it starts with you. It starts with you. If you don't have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and observe the world around you and see the insanity and clarify it, distinguish it from the reality, you might have problems like the next guy. So let's take a look. This is when you get butthurt and you're in a hurry. You think you live in the shadows and can't be seen for the idiocy that you portray in the things that you do. So you think you can just go around the light.
You're a dumbass. You're grade A, number one, bona fide, first class. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. And you'll be one all your dumbass lives. You're a dumbass.
And you'll be one all your dumbass lives. As long as you keep pulling this kind of shit, people will see you for what you are. Sometimes it's just not so obvious because you're trying to do it in the shadows of the metaverse. And in the shadows of the metaverse, in your groupthink safe spaces, you have somebody that looks like a white cat and another one that looks like a white cat because that's how they identify in that group space or groupthink safe space. They all identify by a commonality. And so when you attack that commonality or try to cut that commonality apart,
nice and clean. Oh my gosh. Okay, ready? I'm just gonna cut. Oh!
He said nope.
Oh my god. Look how cute he is. I'm just gonna. Oh! Buddy, that's a cake! Alright, here we go. It's just cake. Look how real this looks. Oh, that's wild. It's vanilla inside. See?
yeah, look how real that looks. See, this is AI too, right? So it's not a real portrayal, but it does portray a concept. That groupthink safe space, and how if you attack the groupthink idea by interjecting something a little bit more logistically real, they're going to try to go on the affront.
Hey, no, ow, get off, my hair, Milo. Okay.
So let's take a look at the next aspect. When you do try to speak out and you're one of the ones at the bottom and you don't have that groupthink because you're the only one doing it. You're the only one speaking out against that groupthink, against the insanity.
No ghosts or ghouls scaring the Gentilly area on Acacia Street, but a viral video posted by a New Orleans woman spooking a lot of people on social media.
It has even reached the officials who are in charge of fixing it. Traffic anchor Brandy B. Harris tells you why these pothole problems are costing drivers big bucks.
And before we get into it, I'll explain this has been going on for 2 years. And so all the repairs for the damages to the driver's vehicles, whether they be private vehicles or company vehicles, as you'll see in this, I can only imagine amount to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Whereas the city itself, through a tax implementation, is supposed to already have the funding to be able to take care of things like this. But when they don't, it passes on right back to the same people that are paying those taxes to have this resolved already. And so the insanity is that the power that supposedly starts at the bottom goes nowhere along the ladder up.
This video has been flying around social media like a poltergeist.
The video, it was basically like my last ditch effort trying to get some attention to the catastrophe of a street that I live on. So I was like, maybe if I compile a video of all the things that I hear all day and night in my house and show everybody else, maybe somebody else will do something.
Maybe somebody else would do something. See, back in my day, there were things called neighborhood watch programs, and we actually had block parties, and we actually looked out for each other. And so when there was an issue, we would all petition the city council, or not we, I was a child back then, but the adults were very active. My dad was one of the most published writers for the local newspaper editorial. You know, when the citizens can write in and address the city with their questions, he had a lot of questions, and he had a lot of them published because he asked some really good fucking questions. And that's why I'm really good at asking good fucking questions. So again, despite the fact that both my parents were federal agents and they disowned me, I love them both. And I cherish the things that they did teach me, both good and bad. So, you know, you got to take it for what it is. And that's what dismisses so many people in my concept, is that they sit there and refuse to learn from the negative things in their life and hide them in shadows and then project them on other people as their portion of guilt or vulnerability and try to hide from that. You can't hide from it when the real scales of justice come to you.
From day to night.
Oh, and real quick here, that goes to that group think. You know, I mentioned the neighborhood watch programs. You know, the group think safe spaces on the metaverse. It's the insanity of what used to be real, ethical, honorable, and had integrity, and actually did get some things done. So this lady, by doing it herself through a ring camera on her doorbell, would have been much more efficient if the neighbors around her, all these other people all along this street, would have done the same thing and gotten together and petitioned the government, the local city council, and said, listen, we're going to bring a suit against you, against our taxes that we already paid, and you're supposed to be maintaining this road, and you're not. You are negligent in your obligation as the obligee to the obligor. See, we are the benefactors in this public trust.
Jasmine Saw's doorbell camera picks up the sights and sounds of Acacia Street as vehicles hit the huge potholes, tearing up their own cars in the process.
Honestly, if you can hear it in person, it's like 10 times worse. The sounds, the crashing, the car parts dinging, it makes my walls shake in my house. Like, it got to points where I can feel the car physically coming up the street before it even gets to like my front door.
No one is safe from the holes on Acacia, not even a city truck.
That was actually probably
the most profound one. A city truck that has the ability to haul the fucking asphalt, to put in those potholes and fill them in, taking a matter of a half an hour for a short 1 block street like that. The epitome, the irony of just blank ignorance, ignoring the fact that the taxpayers already paid. It's prepaid, folks. And if you don't stand up as a unity, in unison, with one voice, spouting the same claim, your obligation is failed. Therefore, we no longer have confidence in you. We will vote you out. We will replace you with one of us. That is your power as a pass-through for the truth.
one of the most entertaining days because it was very ironic that a city dump truck got stuck in a pothole.
Yeah, it's a serious pothole. I mean, it could tear, you could bust your oil pan up, you could mess your alignment up, blow tires out, mess up your undercarriage.
With 40 years in the auto repair industry, Melvin Adolph, owner of Lakeview Automotive, says
40 years in the automotive industry, he would be one of the ones that would be able to tell you by his books when people in the local area that are having a pothole issue all of a sudden start flooding in week after week, along with city trucks and other corporate vehicles for repairs from one potholed road. And that would be the cause. All of those customers would tell them, well, I hit a pothole on this road. So his records alone would show an influx of people during that 2-year period. So it's the local mechanics that would have record to sustain the actual reality of what's going on, while everybody else is going to dismiss it and say, no, we just had other projects, or no, we just didn't get the complaint. And again, that's why if you have 15 people on the same block that all have the same complaint, they can't ignore it. They can't placate that, well, we didn't get her complaint because she's the only one complaining. Learn how to stand up and come into groups in the proper capacity of speaking the truth, not in the defamation capacity of trying to tear each other down. That's the pathetic unworthy, and non-integrity aspect of all the heathens out there and their insane delusions, thinking that they can bring their imagination into reality by playing these Kens and Karens with their fake victimization and false hidden guilt.
He sees damage from potholes often.
We just had one a while back where he busted 2 tires and 2 wheels in alignment, but he's lucky he didn't do any big damage as far as suspension and that. And it was probably...
Yeah. So the damages that are being reported, he's telling you that many of them could be worse. While sometimes there's only a few $100s, there's others that come in that are thousands of dollars of damage, tearing up the whole front end. How much are you going to pay in taxes to then turn around and sit back idly and not say something when it needs to be said, and rather say something about your neighbor or hold the camera up on your neighbor as the police are arresting her and violating her rights and hooting and hollering and back in the blue? It's fucking pathetic.
About $1,200, $1,300, but I mean, I've seen him $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
A street light repair and asphalt patching happened almost immediately after that video was posted online. But the people who live here tell me that only follows years of complaints.
UPS, years of complaint. Did UPS call in? They're a corporate business. Did they call in and tell the city, hey, we're not going to deliver to your residents along this route until you fix that road? No, they're cuck buddies. They'll go ahead and just take it out of insurance. The common man can't do that. The common man isn't running a business to take shit out of insurance so he can jack his prices up and say, well, we have costs. Come on. Pathetic capitalism.
Jasmine Saul's first report to fix NOLA was back in June 2023. More than 2 years later, she and some neighbors are fed up. And some people I spoke to are even considering moving.
If you're persistent and if you just bug them enough, eventually, and thanks to Jasmine, I mean, she really went above and beyond. It's a shame that's what it takes, but that's what you got to do.
That's traffic anchor Brandy B. Harris. Now, we have reached out to the Sewage and Water Board, the mayor's office, and Councilman Eugene Green about these complaints, and we have not yet heard back.
Imagine that. Total silence. See, they run when reality hits them in the face. They can't stand up to their obligation. They love the pats on the back and all the votes. But when it comes to real obligation, you have to wear that Hitler's mustache and tell them that you see Hitler's willing executioner. So let me give a shout out to everybody. So far, we've got Joe Cool in the house, By My Reality, Modern Men Lost Again, Here I Am, MSPF, Bong and stuff. Greetings, everybody. I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up. I hadn't planned on it. I just wanted to go through some videos, but if you want to join, that's great. Otherwise, you know me, I'm a one-man show. I can do it on my own. So let's get back to it. There's the link for anybody. Any viewers, come on into chat if you want to join the panel. And let's get on to the next one when we see about an Arizona judge pissing in public.
On Fox 10 Investigates, a Superior Court judge abruptly resigns after an incident with police, but yet
Superior Court judge.
on Fox 10 Investigates,
one of the ones at the top. Yeah, see, all of a sudden the power streams out in a piss pile, huh?
Superior Court judge abruptly resigns after an incident with police, but Yavapai County did not release details initially on what led up to the resignation.
That's where we come in. And now Prescott police body cam footage shows the judge allegedly urinating in the street. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum has the video, the report, the court filings, after confirming the identity of the public official.
What are we doing? This is disgusting.
It's just after 1:30 in the morning on October 4th, and the woman who just pulled up her pants, sitting on the bench, is now face to face with Prescott police. She is Judge Pro Tempore Christine Schaff Olson, The location is known to many as Whiskey Row at Montezuma and Gurley Street on the same block as the Courthouse Plaza where Schaff-Olson works. A source who wishes to remain anonymous obtained this body cam footage.
And I'm sure there's plenty of First Amendment auditors and stuff that are familiar with this woman. She's been on many YouTube things here, and you know, this is why we have to understand the premise of backing the blue, and the power extends from you. You're the one backing them. You're the one that's allowing this. You're the one that's not using your proper discernment and judgment to do anything about it. Greetings, Brother Landy. How you doing today? We have a lag.
Here we go. I hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, we hear you too, brother. You got some background noise in there.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry,
That's
man.
okay.
Well, real quick, I don't mean to disrupt. I just wanted to put this on top of your mind because I found this fascinating, right? There's this like 3.5 mile stretch in the city to where, so I'm trying to go away from the noise, to where it's the only subway system. It's just one small section of the public transport here, but it's only 2 stops. And if you lived here, you'd have no idea it was here. So it goes, I don't know how deep it goes, but this is like one side of it here. And I'm getting some shots in on my actual other camera, but it's mind-blowing to me that they had to do this for only one section, or why that would be worth it. And I always find this kind of stuff, it reminds me of the airport in Denver, like kind of too weird to be the way they present it to us. But sorry, you can go back to your video and I'll be listening.
Well, yeah, and just a brief comment on that. That's because space is 3D now. On their maps for construction and stuff, when they started doing the high rises and the skyscrapers and stuff, that was one dimension of 3D. And then, of course, you had airplanes come in, and there's another dimension of 3D. And of course, the tunnels and stuff were already there in 3D. But now you have this subspace where things are getting so crowded, you have to make as maximized use of the space you do have. So they're using different 3-dimensional levels of space in there. And it's like Donkey Kong. You go this way and then you drop down a ladder. You go this way and you drop down a ladder. It's just different sub-levels of the same 3D space. And I think as we get into modern times and modern technology with transportation and autonomous vehicles and stuff, we're going to see a lot more of that, kind of like you saw in the Fifth Element, where cars were actually flying, and you had the skyscrapers, and cars were now taking the airspace and zipping around like this and that, flying up and down and sideways and forward and back and everything. It's insane, but that's the way it's going. It's a matter of crowding and needing to use that 3-dimensional space to efficiency.
Hiding it to Fox 10. As the officers try to identify her, Schaff-Olson's husband gets involved.
Are you her husband?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hang out over by the cab for me?
Nope. What?
Yeah, you can, because I'm conducting an investigation.
For what?
Because I just saw her puking and urinating, exposing herself to several people.
That wasn't her.
Nope, that wasn't her. And that's her husband. And listen to who he is when they explain it. You'll understand about the nepotism and cronyism that they've been talking about. They call it nepotism in the blood sport debating, but that's the wrong term to use, because that's relative to family, familia, not necessarily just familiar friends, but family specific. Whereas cronyism is a business associate friendship. So that's the familial association rather than directly relative by blood, and in opposition to being relatively familial by business opportunities and marketing, capitalism.
Jason Olson, the judge's husband, and also the Parks and Recreation manager for the town of Chino Valley. Police say Olson did not listen to instructions to back away, and as he's being detained, officers say he resisted arrest by tensing up his right arm before being taken to the ground.
Get your ass on the ground, dude.
I'm not doing anything.
515, we're fighting.
I'm not fighting.
Just so you know, I'm one of those guys, if I'm in the middle of a fight, I don't care if I've got a radio on my shoulder or not. I'm fighting. I'm not going to stop, grab my radio, and say we're fighting. That's kind of idiotic. You're not fighting. You got your knee on his back. You're telling him he's under arrest. He's not fighting. You're playing this game that he's fighting. You're projecting your fear that you're in this fight. For you people, it's not a fight. Most people bow down and kiss your fucking boots. It's called back in the blue. And this guy and the judge both backed you until you came against them. And now you want to portray that they're fighting. See, this is the insanity of this, the groupthink safe spacing in the societal realm where you have these levels of authority. Where is your authority? Is it going to start at the bottom, or are you going to live the living word of the living God by spouting the truth and nothing but the truth?
Grab the cuffs.
The police report says Schaff-Olsen showed signs of intoxication and slurred her speech. Schaff-Olsen was appointed as a judge for Yavapai County Superior Court in 2023. She was a partner for her own law firm for 2 years and has been practicing law for a decade.
So she went to college. I'm going to imagine 4 years. Might have been more, but 4 years. That's 22 years of age. Went into practice, that's 32, and now 2 years as a judge, that's 35. I'm going to imagine she's around 35 to 40 years old. I don't think anybody that young should be on the bench. Just like I speak up about police officers, I don't think we should have these young men and women as police officers, particularly since they have absolutely no actual studies in the law. None. They can't enforce the law, yet they do because of people like this supporting them, backing the blue. These are the people that are backing the blue, and you're backing these people by going to courts for them. You're the ones filing the suits. You're the ones making the complaints. You're the ones crying about your neighbor instead of contacting these people and saying, hey, we're putting you on notice. You want to fight with your neighbor in this divisive tactic. Those are the people you're supposed to be coming together with to prevent this fucking atrocious fucking abuse of authority up and down the line. As you people profess that the law starts from the bottom and goes up, thinking you have some kind of authority and don't know the power of the words. So you use the wrong words and they fucking fire back on you.
According to her LinkedIn resume, if you listen closely, she emphasizes her official title.
Minimum, you're getting a ticket.
My name is Judge Christine Olsen.
The report also says several witnesses walked by minutes earlier and waved the officer down after they saw the judge urinating.
Are they visiting? I have no idea. She's useless. She can't even spell her name.
We reached out to the
Useless. She can't even spell her name. See, these are the people you think have authority. And they can't even control themselves in public.
The Yavapai County Superior Court for comment. The court administrator's initial news release just days after the incident said Schaff-Olsen resigned to attend to personal matters. The latest statement from Yavapai County Superior Court says in part, the Superior Court is aware of the allegations against Judge Christine Schaff-Olsen. This information was brought to the court's attention on October 4. Judge Schaff-Olsen accepted full responsibility and formally submitted her resignation on Monday, October 6. To ensure coverage of her calendar, Judge Schaff-Olsen agreed her last day on the bench would be October 31.
All right, this is your citation. It's a misdemeanor for urinating or defecating in public, okay? So you're going to have to sign it, promising to appear in court in about a month, all right?
How ironic. She gets a citation, and the beta cuck white knighting for his woman, who is obviously in the wrong, and he's going to white knight and say, no, she didn't do that. And he's the one that gets arrested. Keep playing your power games. Keep professing you have authority. Keep protecting women that are worthless whores. You don't like my words? Understand this is education, commentary, parody, entertainment. You don't like my entertainment? Go buy a ticket somewhere else. This one's free.
Husband's going to be transported to the Yavapai County Jail. He'll be booked in there.
Jason Olson was cited for resisting arrest, interfering with a crime scene investigation, and obstruction of government operations. His employer, the town of Chino Valley, has not responded to our request for comment. Body cam footage shows Judge S.W.A.P. Olson struggling to sign the citation.
Nope, right here on the screen. On the screen.
Well, on the screen.
Her attorney tells Fox 10 that she had some sort of medical issue that night, which has no bearing on her performance as a judge.
Her medical issue was a blood alcohol content level that was way over the average, way over the normal, way over the allowed, which allowed her to lose her control and evidently her bladder.
And he's confident that when more information comes to light in the appropriate forum, the matter will be resolved favorably. I'm Justin Lum.
Favorably. Well, let's end that. Favorably to who? See, is that the cronyism? Favoring themselves? We're going to investigate ourselves. And we're going to tell you right now, it's going to turn out favorable because that's our pattern of practice. Fucking wake up. So let's take a look at another one. Blatant and outright. And when people speak out, this is what they do to them. And I can only imagine that the two officers that are going to be mentioned here in this interview or this news clip is their background is they put up with other things within the department before this came about. And it was only a final straw. And I keep asking people to stop with the small lies because it's the small lies that keep building and building and end up in situations where it makes you look bad, even though you think you're the good guy. You tell people the truth. You've been honest. You've been fair, except for the little white lies you've been willing to accept all your life and based your whole life on them. Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. Yeah, all kinds of things. Halloween, where you get to put on a mask and feel comfortable in public. While the rest of the year, the government tells you to put on a mask so you'll feel uncomfortable. How ironic.
Corruption. We're ruining people's lives. We're being forced to ruin people's lives.
Former state troopers are coming forward tonight, blowing the whistle, they say, on a quota system that's leaving innocent people charged with crimes they did not commit. Good evening. I'm Lauren Lowry.
And I'm Marius Payton.
I'm Tracy Cornett. The next time you're out driving on the interstate, especially late, you're going to be thinking about what WSMV4 Investigates has now uncovered.
Chief investigative reporter Jeremy Finley is here with the latest on his sobering problem investigation.
Well, guys, what we've uncovered is more than just two former troopers coming forward about what they say is a system designed to pressure troopers into making as many DUI arrests as possible. We've also obtained a secretly recorded meeting and internal maps that troopers say explains why so many innocent people are being charged with DUI.
We told you about Thomas Manis's arrest and Stephanie Fair's and Candace Slade's and all the other people arrested for DUI by state troopers when they were completely sober. But we've never heard from any of the troopers who've arrested sober people for DUI until now.
This is corruption. We're ruining people's lives. We're being forced to ruin people's lives.
Do you know if you've ever...
No. Like I mentioned earlier, there are other things that these troopers and police officers and law enforcement and city and county governments and state governments are doing that are violating people's rights. And you're not being forced to do it. You applied through a job application or a petition to be elected. You applied for this shit. And you applied for this shit, most of them seemingly in good faith, as honorable and integrity would show that they did it to end corruption and be a good positive influence in those arms of government. And yet they're willing to put up with the underlying currents as they are and go along to get along so they can keep their position. I don't have any position but that of truth. And I don't care where you put me, behind a cell, behind a set of bars in a jail cell, or out on top of a mountain. It's patently observable. If you don't see it, that's on you. At the end of the day, my life has already been granted by the source of life. It will be taken by the source of life and reused for a different life. This is patent.
Arrested a sober driver for DUI?
Yes, sir. I'm sure I have.
Former troopers Ashley Smith and Adam Potts say there's a reason so many innocent people have been arrested for DUI in Tennessee by state troopers. A reason, they say, revealed in these internal maps and recorded audio from a troopers meeting in Chattanooga.
Arrest every DUI that you can get your hands on.
We've always thought this was a great thing because you want to get drunk drivers off the road. Do you?
Yeah, you want to get drunk drivers off the road, but that means you have to be able to tell that they're drunk, not just pull them over and accuse them of being drunk because you use some kind of insane medical determination, which you're not trained in medicine, just like you're not trained in law, to make a determination that someone is under influence. That again, it takes medical devices to gather medical data in order to make that determination. So again, we have people practicing medicine, and you're going to back the blue until it happens to you.
Do you feel like that this push to get DUIs is eventually having a negative outcome?
Absolutely. There's pressure to arrest.
That's what I was talking about. Bad Barney No Bullets says, why did these two piggies wait until they were fired before coming forward? Cowards. Because before that, the things that were happening, they were too coward to come forward on those. And that was because they wanted to keep their job. It was only until the levels seemed to escalate that it got to them. Many of these people in these positions, the level doesn't bother them. They get used to the level, and then it escalates the level, and then they want to keep their job, so they accept that level, and then they start working with that level, and now it's become normal for that level, and then it escalates again, and they still want to keep their job, so they get normalized and desensitized to that level. And forgive them, for they know not what they do. They have been induced, they have been indoctrinated just like everybody else. But again, this is only evident because they don't look in the mirror at themselves. They're constantly pointing the finger at somebody else when they don't even know the fucking law. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law. Pathetic. Greetings, Dominic. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Keith. Hope you're doing well.
I am well. I am well. So, what do you think so far?
Well,
am I spot on? Am I babbling? Am I running my mouth? Am I wrong? Am I delusional?
We're always babbling, but you are sharing a lot of things that a lot of people just don't put thoughts to. So, some of them probably are keeping their jobs. Some of them are honoring their oaths.
Yeah, but it's hard to do both. See, that's the thing about serving two masters. See, I can't.
At that point, it's the same master that they're serving.
Right,
they're
but
either
it's
serving the self or they're serving. Go ahead, sorry, Keith.
Right, but it's not the master that they're professing in their Christian world. See, most people think in this thing that they're serving the master. Okay, they're serving the state. Where does the power of the state come from when their Christian scriptures outline setting thine house in order? And the only time they mention setting thine house in order as it relates to the courts would be Romans 13:1, where it says there is no power but that which is ordained of God. And then it goes into the administrative process of the courts and how they're supposed to come to their determinations. And then it talks about the sins. That's Romans 13. That's the only place we see any correlation whatsoever to setting thine house in order and having to do with the courts, is that the God that they pose is the God of authority, is the one that ordained all power. and yet they're using their ordinances to sanction the living breath of a man with mask mandates. Explain that with Genesis 2:7. God formed man of the dust of the ground, and when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man, as a noun, became a living soul as a verb phrase. See, that's what I have a problem with. I think everybody's misinterpreting. And when you say Jesus wasn't real, I don't know if that's an argument. Yeah, the scriptures are determined to be hearsay. So yeah, you can say Jesus wasn't real because the scriptures are hearsay. But the reality is that the story behind it, I believe, is most certainly real in the sense that it's meant to portray a certain guide for morals and ethics in many aspects of life. What do you think?
Well, when it comes to moral and ethics, you're talking about the flesh. So, you know, when people become aware that what God puts into motion, or whatever you want to call it, it's like the sun and the moon. The courts that most people are talking about, they're talking about man-made courts. There's a divine court out there, and there's many crowns around it. But again, I get the concept of men over man. They're one created in the image of God. Men were created of the earth, of the earth. And again, this is where, you know, I've heard you say and other people, there's a reason why we say letters of the laws. Humans just create policies.
Correct. Correct.
You know, and that's where morals come, because you're in a mortal form. So you should have certain guidelines when it comes to stewarding that vessel, or vassal, whatever word we want to use to describe it. Because again, we've been given all kinds of languages, you know, so.
Right. And that's I'm glad you mentioned that. That's one of the things I speak on is the duality of language. And that's a perfect example is vessel and vassal. In this material world, we're led to believe in the term vessel. And in the scriptures, they talk about vassal. And the vassal is a lordship relationship. In other words, I am the vassal of the Lord. In this material world, the straw man, the person, is the vessel of the man. Okay.
And again, we have lords, you know, hence rulers. But, you know, the concept of, you know, when theosophy folks go on about ascended masters, well, then what do you have to be then? A descended slave. This is where a lot of beings, they end up coming into the material world, but forgetting to respect the spiritual world that they come from. Hence, kind of like you go into the light from the darkness. But again, I'm just playing with words. But then again, where are our thoughts? I'm just saying this out loud. You know, this is where.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on though. The way you express it is firmly how I believe it. People forget the power actually comes from the spiritual essence of your being. That's why your talents are so powerful, because that's where your true power flows through. See, it's not you that has power. It's that source of life that gives you every breath as you go on in life. And the more you embed that in your personality, every breath you take, being true and real to your talent, the more that talent will shine.
Yeah, we've been
the more you try to embed it in the name of the man, the more you will be separated from that talent, the more you will be embedded in the abyss. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we've been bestowed gifts. So at this point, whether it's a demon or an angel, whatever word they want to use to describe these things, they're there to serve. They're not solely there to serve the flesh. They're there to serve something else. So how we adhere to it. So if somebody's supposed to be like a narcissist or a psychopath, as long as they don't step outside of that, they're there to serve. But of course, most people, they serve the self. Now, if I want to give another interpretation of the self, change the word self to program. They serve the program. That's why when you hear Satanists, no, they're serving themselves. They're not even serving Satan at that point.
Correct. And that's what I talk about, that popularity contest. It's about the name. And that's why everybody uses the ad hom character attack. When in fact, it is a spiritual war. So
yeah, well,
and that's what we're
phrase,
talking.
Keith. Sorry, Keith. There's that phrase. When they talk about we don't war against flesh and blood, who's speaking at that point? Those are the offsprings, because the spiritual realm, they have their own wars. I get it. But even that is the ones that just want to resist and not give honor to whatever is the creator. Humans aren't creators. So they're just reproducers of things.
And Austin Murphy, Mr. Murphy 1, Mr. A. Murphy 1 says, so in other words, we've been completely compromised and it's too late. No, people don't understand. I am presented and accounted for Did the body and blood of Christ already pay all debts? This is a serious question for the Christian community in all three Abrahamic religions, as well as Buddhism, Hinduism, and such, because they all believe the same thing. And it's the base concept of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you come across a lonely stranger that's homeless and destitute, and you have the ability to help him out in some way, I'm not saying give him thousands of dollars. I'm saying just a simple act of kindness of any sort. That's a form of redemption. However, if you go along and you see him and you kick him down while he's down, what is that? See, we're not supposed to be doing that stuff.
Well, you can,
And when
Keith, hold on. You can. If you choose to abandon another person, do unto others as it was done to you, and vice versa. If you're okay with kicking somebody while they're down, then don't be a hypocrite when somebody does it to you. The universe is beyond the scope of human brain. So now,
correct.
We've done this categorization thinking one thing is more favorable than another. That's attachments now, opposed to we're only acting good. So if you want to be kind to others because that's how you want to receive it, so be it. If you want to be obnoxious, then take your licks when it comes back to you. And don't make a peep out of it. But this is where people say, wait a second, that's right or wrong. I said, you want to play that duality game? You play that duality game, but you're coming back again. And this is where the prosecutor, this case, we'll call him Satan, he says, I'm just here to challenge you. You want to play that game? It's like a guy that's making open free throws. And all of a sudden they want the adversary to be in front of him. He goes, yeah, no problem. The first time you make that shot, I'll kick you in the nuts because I don't play by rules. Now, they might get all upset about it. I said, but now you're revealing you're not even emotionally developed. If you're going to give unto others, be prepared to give to oneself. If you're going to talk mean about another person, then be okay when they're backbiting with you.
Absolutely. And that's a very important lesson I learned when I was 18, Dominic, in case you guys don't know the story. I got arrested for a second-degree robbery. Now, the second-degree robbery should have simply been something like a fifth-degree theft for something like a purse snatching, because that's technically what it is. Guy came out of a sports store at the end of the night. He had closed out his account, and he had the bank bag with him. And I just ran by him as he was going to get to his car and just snatched the bag and ran off. Okay. They got me for a 10 years second-degree robbery sentence because he said he was in fear of his life. When you use the language to manipulate, and granted, it was a tough lesson, but I've never complained about it because it was one of the best lessons in my life. Walking into prison weighing 120 pounds and having to walk with decency, integrity, and respect, because that ain't a good place. And I'm telling you, I walked out 3.5 years later weighing 185 pounds. They were calling me the brick shit house. And I didn't have but 2 stints in solitary confinement. One for fighting when I first hit the yard because somebody was running their mouth saying that I was a homosexual. Didn't even know me. Just wanted to start ish. He was trying to make his spot and was trying to use me to do it. So I ended up in solitary confinement for knocking his ass out. Turned around and the next one was solitary confinement for gambling. I didn't have any problem with integrity and respect on the yard. And when I walked out, it was my problem was still the same family that thought I was the problem. And when I walked out and my dad didn't recognize him, nobody from my family contacted me the entire time. Didn't know a fucking thing about me. And when I walked out, this huge guy that he didn't even recognize, and it was the best lesson in my life because I took heed. I never went back. Yeah, I got 93 cases, but they were for possession charges, traffic citations, interference with official acts. I wasn't actually out harming people like I did that one time. I did commit a sin. And I repented and said I'd never do it again. I ain't. I've never done it again. That's the importance of those kind of things in your life. So let's get back to the video and I'll bring that picture up. Bong and stuff says show pics. So I'll bring a picture up just shortly before I walked out of prison.
Potts says it's not just pressure.
It's a quota.
I have to ask you, did you ever feel pressure just to pull someone over and arrest them for DUI just to make a quota?
Absolutely.
It's something directly addressed in recorded audio from a meeting with Captain Patrick Turner out of Chattanooga, obtained by W.S.P. Investigates.
I'm passing on the message of what the command staff wants. What does hard work look like? Well, it could look like arresting 100 plus DUIs a year.
In that meeting, it stipulated to troopers on the midnight shift, 100 DUI arrests will be required each year per trooper.
If they're DUI, I want you to load the jail full of them.
Turner also talks about consequences when it comes to how many DUI arrests are made, as well as contacts, meaning drivers pulled over each shift.
You turn in 33 DUIs per year and 1.7 contacts, you're going to get spanked.
But despite what you just heard, this is what the THP emailed us. Quote, the Tennessee Highway Patrol does not have or use quotas for traffic stops, citations, or arrests. And there's more. In emails obtained through the Open Records Act, Captain Bruce McCarley sent out maps this year. Subject line, DUI map. It shows every county in District 8 and every trooper with a number next to it. These former troopers say those are the numbers of DUI arrests made by each trooper.
What is the message to you all? Why send this out to troopers?
You're not doing good enough because somebody else is beating you with the DUIs. You need to do better.
These former troopers say there are incentives for troopers to make DUI arrests.
No way. No way. You mean like keeping your job? See, that's the real incentive. The real incentive is the negative aspect that if you don't reach the quota, you're not going to have a job. And if you reach the quota, it's top dog after that. The more you hit above your quota, the sooner you get to advance among the ranks. See, that's one incentive. The other one is a negative incentive that if you don't hit quota, you're going to get fired. You ain't going to be part of this group thing because you don't think the same way we do.
The advantage of arresting somebody, whether they're really drunk or not, is I continue to get that premium overtime.
So does that translate to troopers feeling like, if I'm working this shift, I've got to find somebody to arrest?
Absolutely.
For full transparency, both...
Absolutely. How would it not? Like I just explained. If you don't hit the quota, you ain't going to have your job. They're going to look for people that are willing to get that quota, no matter what it takes. Okay? And yeah, bong and stuff. This is what I looked like when I went in. This is my high school graduation, senior picture. It's what I looked like at 18 when I went in. This is what I looked like when I walked out. So anybody wants help in the health department, learning how to gain your weight back and everything, feel free to ask. That's what I'm on again. Just got off on cancer. Dropped down to 105 pounds. Declared cancer-free earlier this year. And now I'm 135 pounds and hoping to get back to 165 at minimum. And yes, they fed me well. I worked in the kitchen for 3 years. All 3 meals. So I was up at 4:30 in the morning. And one of the perks of working in the kitchen is you got to eat as much as you wanted, as long as you didn't eat during shift. So that meant I could go in early, eat before I had shift, work the 2.5-hour lunch breakfast shift, eat again when I was done, and go take a nap in my cell or eat and sleep it off, and then go down to the weight yard, work out, then go down to the card table and play cards all day. 3 meals a day. 2.5-hour shift, eat before and after, go take a nap, go work out for a short period of time, go play cards, go hit lunch, eat before, 2.5-hour shift, eat after, go take a nap, do a little bit of weightlifting, go play cards. Interesting schedule I got on.
Potts and Smith were fired by the THP. Potts pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of a single car accident involving his personal vehicle.
I made a mistake. I had to crash off duty.
And the THP is seeking.
All glory goes to God. No matter who thinks they had anything to do with it, even me and my own ego and all the research I did to do the things I did, all glory actually goes to that source of life.
To decertify Smith, accusing her of helping a family member to get out of a DUI. She's fighting.
Oh, no, not nepotism, not favoritism for family. No, you can't use nepotism versus cronyism. What do you think about that, Dominic?
That claim before.
You with me now?
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing you. Nepotism versus that. Are we still talking about the court systems here and how people favor others?
Yeah, that's what she did. She, her son or somebody got pulled over for a DUI or something, and she's trying to fight the courts for him or with him, and giving him, the ins and outs, and they fired her. That's opposing your very own boss. So they work with cronyism, and she's in favoritism for her family relative, so they fired her for it. Cronyism versus nepotism. It doesn't matter if it's with the courts or what.
Well, human behavior, people will lean towards one or the other.
Yep. And it's to the destruction, if you don't notice, the family, the corporate oligarchy, that capitalist giant. They will always favor capitalism, cronyism.
Well, that's a way of anchoring the human race down here. But yes.
Yeah, that's the real servitude.
Or the state.
The THP may simply say that you're just a disgruntled employee, and that's why you're coming forward.
I would have said something before if it wouldn't have been career suicide for me.
As for what the THP says about their...
Did you hear that? She just she just clarified my exact point earlier. It would have been career suicide if she'd have come out earlier. If she'd have come out on the other issues that she already saw, it would have been career suicide.
So at that point, she's showing what she favors, what she has faith in.
Yep.
So she's not a God-fearing being.
Correct. And we have to forgive them, for they know not what they do. It came to an extreme measure where she thought she had to stand up for a family relative before it opened her eyes, and now is when she's speaking to the investigators. My exact point.
You push and shove anybody, even the story of Job reveals that. So again, it's one of these things, Keith, if people fast long enough, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 days, I'm talking 30 or 40 days, you'll find out what you're really addicted to. Your ego will need that food. Now, you might be able to understand, for some people, go 3 or 4 days without liquids, but dare not understand 3 or 4 minutes without air. You'll find out actually who they really have faith in. Most people have faith in the ego, the vessel. They might talk in vain and they say they serve God. I said, then why are you concerned about anchoring yourself with the material? Again, Lucifer is a funny guy. He figures, you can talk with that language that I gave you.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Jacob's dream, one of the real aspects that I got out of it was that, when he's sitting there clutching at his hip in pain, he's got this bad hip, and in his dream, somebody is attacking his hip. Well, it was himself. And that's the fucking abyss. You're putting into it what you're getting back. So it's the same thing as Jacob's ladder, his dream. When in your dream, you're fighting this God. That God that's grabbing a hold of you and tearing your hip apart, that's you. Mm-hmm. You're the one putting that power out. So it's going to come back against you.
And I hope people learn from it, whatever they do. It's usually for the few. Many of us, a lot of people, they're already prepared for the reboot. So maybe next time, maybe they'll come back as a tree or another human. But outside of that, again, it's one of these stories. Is it really about family? Are we not already indebted when we're using all this technology?
Yeah, and that's another topic that I like to get into. That's actually what my screenplay is based on, is the dependence upon technology and the use of it. And a lot of people don't understand that this technology is good to a certain extent,
It
and
serves.
only to that extent.
It serves.
And
Well,
when you use it in an abusive manner, or in a like I express in this overabundant matter of a corporatocracy, where we have these huge windmills that are creating this disastrous problem of the fiberglass and what you do. Now they're coming up with um, uh, solutions for that, but in the meantime, we've already buried thousands of these windmills in the ground because we didn't know what to do with them. What are we going to do? We're going to dig them back up. How does that work? So we're defacing the very world that we're supposed to be observing and replenishing, and that is a problem.
I think if people are being honest with themselves, forget about truth. Leave that energy for a second. Let's go with being true. So now, when people observe nature and realize it's curvature, not angles, that most of what humans reproduce, there's harmony and chi in nature. Most, if they're being honest, aren't willing or prepared to go back and work with nature. What they want
Correct.
is they want those concrete buildings, those high rises, those curvature, whatever you want to call them, or in this case, angle cars. And then they'll look at certain technology and then cherry pick and say, well, Wi-Fi is not healthy for you. Oh, what about radio frequency? What about what about car pollution? You know, and they're not actually, we coin in, because I love when people say shit like live and let live. I said, okay, so should we bring in the animals in the tree kingdom and the ant kingdom to actually have and coin in all that? You know, if there is, and I value the concept, there is higher powers here, because I would still have to speculate who created the sun and the moon, and it's not humans. Humans are just a fucking piece of shit. But anyway, that's just me yip-yapping because I'm in a suit. But at the same time, if the gods are going to interfere, wouldn't they've already done it if they feel as though a human could do any damage?
Bingo. And
You know,
that's why I speak out on the climate control and this hype on that. Man's ego has really spread to believe that he can destroy this world.
no, they can't. Not even close. If anything else, we're probably like a little flea on a dog.
Yeah, you can trash it to the greatest extent you want, but eventually what happens in that case is the earth will destroy you. It will get rid of you for your fecal matter. A dog doesn't shit in his own bed. People do.
So true. But again, it's nice to play these games, you know, maybe investigate why would a person want to become a fireman or a police officer. But debating with each other, that's more divide and conquer. Make a whole bunch of people and say you're Christians, make a whole bunch of other people, you're Muslims, you're liberal, you're a
and then discuss which is better and which is
go.
worse, and try to give points on ego.
Yeah,
That's basically all they do.
At that point, Keith, me and you were playing this game. Keith, let's fuck with our civilized, with our peasants. Say, listen, you're going to say the cracking the egg on the right side is better than the left, and then basically everybody kill each other and say, hey, there we go. We've just done depopulation.
Yeah, and we're literally doing that, and history repeats itself. And understand, folks, every nation that was successful to any great extent of their own and didn't just get wiped out through war, they ended their own nation and depleted their own self-subsistence by being successful in such a manner that they became hedonistic. In other words, they thought life was all about the technology, the modernization, and joy, and having fun and being happy, instead of living the arduous natural life of tending the earth and really touching ground and feeling your physicality. Instead, they went to an emotional, joyful place that they built on comfort and convenience.
That's where most of our attachments.
Using the very nature and its sources to do so.
Very true, Keith.
Through their forefathers. Our great forefathers built these buildings.
But again, a lot of people aren't going to be honest. A lot of people aren't going to be honest. I'll be honest. I like my comforts. I can still talk about it. It's like me talking about health. I can talk about health. I just don't go around professing. People say, I go around practicing it. You know, again, I can talk about it. And if a person wants to take with it and run with it and say, okay, Dominic, but I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to manifest it into the physical and then try to balance it, which is fine.
Right.
You know what I mean? I get it. People turn. Go ahead.
Well, that's where we end up with this situation here. We're being forced to ruin people's lives. No, you're not. You just didn't learn how to balance it before and keep it in balance. You tilted the scale in your favor for nepotism or cronyism, whichever it is. You tilted the scale in your favor and not for justice. That's the only way that justice doesn't apply.
Well, most of us, whether we know it or not, we're participating, whether or not it's a random thing or it's a selective, or we choose to come through some sort of womb. We choose, for a lot of folks, to be in civilization, and those are the rules that civilization. The best most of us can do is understand the rules. This is why some people that are criminals, they're called wise guys. They understand, okay, I'll play around with the rules a little bit, but I respect the rules. There's a lot of people that don't respect the rules because they're doing it out of ignorance. Well, I don't agree with police officers. Okay, you don't agree with police officers, but do you understand how the rules run? What do you mean? Well, you're driving a car. Did you create the car? Well, not really. So then why are you bitching, complaining about whether or not you got pulled over or not? That's a child talking at that point. Now, they can go into a court system and say, well, wait a second, the court system is like somebody saying, listen, I woke up yesterday and somebody told me to be a king for the peasants. And of course, you get that small little kid that turns around and says, well, what did it tell you to do? Well, the God said for you to build a bridge. Well, why don't you build your own fucking bridge? See, this is where people, they want to have their cake and eat it. They want to go to a court system that's designed that say, listen, you're not going to acknowledge the fact that you're the birth certificate? Yeah, okay, but you're still playing the vessel game, aren't you? Yeah, there you go. You're still fucked. Then why the fuck did you come down into this realm? Yeah, those are some tough questions. One should be going inside of themselves. Forget about other people. They're going to play their own game, whether they're asleep or not. We're living in an age of information where most people are going to become consciously ignorant. They're not actually be aware. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Nude Guru speaks on that here. His comment says, justice is just another racket, ultimate distraction from remedy. It's remedy that's intelligent. Justice is a fallacy and very abusive. And that's why I say, yeah, justice isn't served, and justice is a ledger. It's a man's ledger. Whereas equity itself, that's the scale of that feather that gets weighed before the kingdom of heaven. And many people think that you ascend this stairway to heaven and you stand there before the pearly gates, and then he weighs that your heart against that weather or feather. No, the scripture says you go down below first.
No, there's a balancing going on. There is a balancing going on.
You have to descend to get the accurate balance before you can ascend.
There you go. Hence why we have ascended masters, because you have descended slaves. Their job is to say, listen, are you worthy enough to pass forward? Not really. So this is where when people say, when you say that term, like a feather or whatever, the question would be, what form do you think you're going to be in? You're not going to be in the form. That thing is already that thing has already been stamped for it to age. Now, people will play with the concept of, I'll give you an example, Keith. People say, Dom, I had a near-death experience. I said, okay, so the word death in the tarot means transformation. So you had a near transformation, you saw the light, and you came back running like a scared little fucking puppy? Yep. They're not understand. The light is there to say, listen, have you shown that you're worthy enough to move on? This is kind of like looking at the Truman story. He at least chose in the depictuation of it to say, listen, the rest of the programmers are here to condition everybody else. Everybody else is too busy giggling. He was able to go up another stair. Think about that stairway to heaven you're talking about. He was able to go behind the clouds to the next story.
Yeah, and the next story, you'll notice when he opened that door was a black abyss.
Now, again, we're speculating to a certain point, but then again, where's heaven and hell, as we're saying the word hello? Nothing wrong with using possibilities. It's usually the ones that say, Dom, I have the answer. I say, okay, no problem. Let me go get some popcorn, because this ought to be entertaining just for a little bit. Yeah. It's always fun when people think they have answers based on what? By the enslavement language that you have? They're not understand how the English language works energetically, let alone the Sanskrit language, let alone are we going to communicate with Braille? Are we going to read the Bible left to right or right to left? Are we going to read it in a script form, or are we going to read it in a book form? Again, these are entities that say, listen, you want to have this balance? No problem. Here's a demon on one side. Here's an angel on the other side. Let's see if we can fuck both of you at the same time. Yeah. Now, some people get all upset about that. I said, but then that's showing me that you're not emotionally developed. Are you going to stay true to yourself, or are you just going to say that? Well, now you keep saying, where a lot of people say shit like, well, Dom, I'm telling you the truth. Really? You're telling me the truth? You're full of fucking shit, unless you know all the deception. Unless you're going to be true to yourself. If you're going to be a liar, stay true to that. A guy that's a criminal, Keith, and he talks like a criminal and he walks like a criminal, he's not a hypocrite. It's usually the guy that turns around and says, listen, Dom, I'm an honest person, but meanwhile, I'll cheat the tax system. Well, why are you cheating the tax system? Because I don't agree with it. Ah, there you go. You're attached, aren't you? You don't like shit, don't you? What a fucking little child. But again, this is me just yip-yapping, Keith, because I've done the work with myself, and I'm still not done yet. First chance I have to rip a hole in myself, I will. And then I'll patch myself up again. It's always fun when other people want to rip into other people. I said, why don't you stay in your own fucking lane? Who conditioned the language that you're speaking with right now? I don't know, Dom. There you go. At least you're humble enough to say, I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, that's the thing most people are afraid to do, and that's look in the mirror. The man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, there's a verse for both. The man in the mirror is talking about, at the end of the day, if you're lying to the man in the mirror, he knows it. And you're the only one that you're lying to, because everybody else knows the truth of your lie. Those are so easy to spot, and yet those are the things that people are willing to put up with and let them slide. All them little lies, and call it reality.
It could be reality if people understand the definition. Most people use the, well, not most people. The definition is for the objective realm. Yes, this is consistent. This object is here. I use a word to describe it, but the word that I'm going to use to describe it is not here. So that's what's consistent. I see an object that I'm going to call a tree. Keith is going to say it in Latin. And Guru is going to say it in Chinese. So does it, oh, sorry, not Chinese, Mandarin or maybe Cantonese. So at that point, does that confirm or denounce the fact that the language is there or not there? This is where people have to use discernment, or in this case, critical thinking to deduct what it isn't. And then that's when people say, wait a second, well, then if I don't see the tree, I don't see sequoia tree, I don't see forest. I said, yes, you're experiencing more in the spiritual than in the physical. The physical is the literal experience. I see an object, I give it a name. Somebody else will give it a different name. Dare not say, listen, Dom, but do you see the word? Not really. Oh, I see now. So I've been blind the whole time. Fucking right, you have.
So let's finish this up with the being forced to ruin people's lives. Because I'm telling you, you're not being forced. You've been indoctrinated. I forgive you for what you don't know, but it's time to fucking wake up. You're full-grown adults. You do have eyes. You do have ears. You're fully competent. You just don't want to come out of your comfort zone.
Claims and everything else we've obtained, we don't know. Colonel, this is Jeremy Finley with Channel 4. After we tried to speak with the head of the THP in August and he drove away in a car, we once again sent our findings to them, asking for an interview. Instead, they sent a statement reading in part, troopers are highly trained and expected to use their judgment and make necessary traffic stops based on observed violations and public safety needs.
Imagine that. Imagine that. So they're the ones that are supposed to use their judgment. But yet when they use their judgment, it's got to go to a court for judgment. Imagine that. Do you not see the insanity?
Well,
I think they really don't care about the citizens. I think they care about the way it looks, the perception.
Absolutely. That's all they care about is the perception that they have authority. What do you think, Dom?
I think at that point, Keith, if people follow language and go in and listen inwards, the term what they say, use their judgment. They don't say use their discernment. See, judgment is things like right and wrong. That's a pious position.
No. Let's clarify that first, because you can look up in dictionaries and the etymology of discernment. You will see that they use the term judgment. In etymology, they actually use the term acuteness of judgment, meaning severe judgment.
Again, okay, maybe I have to break it down a little bit more then. When people are going to judge, they're using the upper brain. They're not using the gut brain. This is where insight, intuition comes from. And that what communicates with what's called the mind. So now, when they're using their divine feminine energy, this is where discernment comes in, wisdom. We're talking about the tree of life now. I'm not talking about the tree of judgment, good and bad. You know, spiritual material. Most people are caught up in the evil world, the material world. They're going to, once you wake up in the morning, you're in a conscious state. And in that conscious state, you're going to play with your senses. And if a person's truly investigated and say, wait a second, could my senses easily be misled? Sure, it can. The word misled.
So you're talking about the acuteness of judgment of your own senses and not those of others.
No. Yeah, that's with myself. Hence the word understand. So I understand me, and I know the being fable and not fable, being erroneous. You know, knowing that given myself in that opportunity, would I probably do something similar? Especially if I'm creative. Fucking right, I would. I just choose not to do it. This is kind of like the guy that puts his hand on the stove. Are you wise for doing it? People are grateful that you did it, but if we all start doing the same thing, then we're just a dumb community. You would hope that wisdom comes from observing it. That's where wisdom comes from. Judgment, again, this is what I'm saying, Keith. Right and wrong doesn't give me direction. Right and left gives me direction. Straight, backwards and forward, that gives me direction. But for most people, they're lazy. So I agree or disagree, right or wrong. Okay, so you're limiting yourself to zeros and ones and black and white. What about all the other shades? What about all the other numbers? You know, especially when they give us shit like 432 opposed to 440. I said, there's many different frequencies, and you can gauge it with the numbers. Sure, that's fine. But this is when you're starting to communicate from within. We hear each other. Hopefully we give each other respect by hearing each other out. But judging other people, what they're doing is my ego speaking. I judge. What are you judging? You don't see it through my senses, the eye of the beholder. So then what are you judging? They're projecting, back to what you're saying about the mirror.
Correct. They're projecting their own vulnerabilities, guilt, insecurities, faithlessness, hopelessness, desires even. You know, it's quite a trauma list, and that's where that comfort and convenience comes in. People have been raised in the comforts and convenience that when they get outside of that and something happens, now it's traumatic. It's a source of drama instead of a realization that life is real and you need to accept that experience and learn from it. No, they want to get in their feelers and never learn a fucking thing about it and do nothing but cry their victimhood for the rest of their life about it. They want to use it as a firsthand experience as to why they're making a discernment about somebody else.
To be in one's feelers, emotions, for some folks, it'll give them a gauge where they're not developed yet. You in crushed consciousness, your emotions have to really be developed, like a stoic.
Oh yeah.
But not like a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. They can mimic shit. So once you're there, but for a lot of folks, what they do is they get caught up and they'll offend some woman that's in a female form and they say, oh, you're just being whatever. I'm like, okay, but you're not understanding how the feminine and masculine energy works. I'm just using energies here, and I got to use words to describe it. If a person was going to hear, in this case, you're talking about this video, if you could close your eyes and hear it is one thing. If you could go to sleep and let your subconscious listen to this or hear this, you'll wake up the next morning thinking, I saw things I couldn't see before. This is why they want people to watch these videos with their eyes open, because they know your senses are easy to be misled. Most people are going to judge, hey, look, that guy's wearing a suit. That guy's overweight. That guy's bald-headed. There's so much judgment going on there. So they're not really observing that inner part that says, but I'm there always the witness. I'm saying things. Go ahead.
Well, and that's why I've been giving people this caveat. You know, you got to understand, this is the abyss. And when I do these reviews on these insane videos, I understand this. So I've got to give the caveat to the viewer and other panelists and chatters and stuff. You have to be aware that this is not you. And this is part of when he talks about looking into the abyss. Beware of how you look into it, because it will look back at you. When you play with the beast, you can become the beast. So when you listen to this insanity, understand it and comprehend it with your own discernment about your own self. Don't try to put it onto somebody else or let that represent yourself. Make that separation and understand your moral and ethical standings, so you don't end up in positions like these police officers saying, well, it was a career killer if I stood up back then. Now I have to. Make sure
they're revealing where they stand. But sorry, Keith, they're revealing where they stand. Career was important. People always will reveal themselves, even when you said the word beast. It just means another way of saying human. Again, we're human beings. We're having a human experience. Now, somebody could turn around and say, well, what does it mean being a being? I said, what do you think the essence is? Why do you think when they move on, well, Don, we only live here once. Really? You're that sure of yourself? Okay, so then you don't value the fact that whatever created all this stuff, it perpetuated stuff. When they talk about all these different kinds of empire, the sun and the moon were still there. Now, we've changed the word from sun and moon. It could have been called Horus. It could have been called Luna. When Jesus, or whoever the story of this character was, he's talking about the sun. Yes, and my father, Siri. They're talking about the luminaries. Now, again, typical humans are going to reveal themselves. Oh, we're going to bring it all back to the material. Okay, so let's play with the material. Did humans create the mountains? What about the clouds? Where do they come and go? I don't know, Dom. There you go. You're still asleep. You could thank your forefather for that shit. Don't go around bitching and complaining about the schooling system. You failed yourself.
Yep.
Now that's a good start for them. Now they can get all upset. I said, there you go. There's that underdeveloped emotion. You should be able to play with yourself on a regular basis and then giggle about it for a bit. Maybe even be sad for a little bit, and then realize, okay, I still got to go to work tomorrow. I still got to go to work. And why? Because as long as everybody else is taking the fucking crazy pill, I got to take the crazy pill. I might not swallow.
Yeah, and this is what I'm asking people to do. Don't swallow this crazy pill, because this video here, when we're talking about this abyss isn't just this internet here on my laptop. It's the phones. It's all these different devices, the iPads, all that stuff. And it's your children. Your children are looking into this abyss. And so I want to take a brief moment to mention Gabriel and his son Ben as he does this, his journal of his live streaming with all these other panelists, as a journal for his son Ben. This is the abyss you're telling your child to look into. And this is a forewarning of what happens. Beware of allowing your son to look into this abyss while you yourself are blind and deaf to it, Gabriel. I urge you to wake up.
I guess, Keith, as a caveat, we really don't know what entity or spirit jumps into a baby or a child. Nobody's innocent here. We're all playing a game here, whether they want to admit it or not. Now, if you're caught up in winning and losing, it's like playing chess. Don't be concerned about the outcome. Those are for the feeble. So at this point, this is for the few, Keith, the masses. This is just the age of information. This is not the golden age, and most folks are going to take this information. Okay, then if we're not the human form, what are we? So you want to cheat now? You want to look at the back of the book? No, you got to still do your work. And then even that, it'll still be for the few. Now, if you want to put on a code of a Christianity, you're not it. A liberal, you're not it. I'm a Muslim, there you go. So why you keep praying to Mecca? Why don't you pray to Petra while you're there? You're not in. Now, they might turn around and say, yeah, but a billion are following. I said, yeah, it's easy to deceive each other. So now at that point, the question would be, we put way much too value on the mortal form. Oh, the children are innocent. Based on what? There's a good chance energetically, some of these children that get molested, they fuck somebody in a previous lifespan. So at that point, don't be the judger. Step aside. Not for me to interfere. Now, I like to share awareness. Why? Because I get a kick out of it. But for most folks, they're not ready for that kind of work. So then why the fuck are you in kindergarten? Leave. Go play that fucking 60 or 70, 80 years in that meat suit. And then at the end, you say, okay, what have I achieved? Because guys like Alexander the Great fucking achieved fuck all. Caesar committed. He accomplished fuck all. And even the story of Jesus and Socrates. Why did they never write anything down? Because they understood the scriptures. They understood what the written work did to the brain.
Oops, I was muted there. And that's even mentioned in the book of Enoch, chapter 69, verses 8 through 11, folks. Book of Enoch, chapter 69, verses 8 through 11. Read it about the angel Penemu and how he taught the men of earth how to read and write, and it was actually their downfall. And so we continue on with this video. This is a cop texting a 12-year-old for 41 consecutive days, deleted his messages, and of course, there's all kinds of hullabaloo about it. Let's listen to it.
In no way, shape, or form should a police officer or even any man ever be soliciting a underage girl, especially through Snapchat.
Let me ask you a question. What would you do if a South Daytona officer was texting your 12-year-old child? Well, that's what allegedly happened here between former officer Matthew Layton and a child that was 12 years old. But what did the department do? They let him resign. Now, there was an interview done and the fire department was involved in it. There was one that testified in this internal affairs investigation that there was 41 days of straight text messages between this officer, a grown-ass adult, and the child. Now, this agency didn't do anything with a search warrant or anything like that I'm aware of. I did a public records request to get it. But in addition to this, apparently this officer knew this child's location, knew where she was, because after the child and the family got back from a vacation, this officer was sitting right across the street at a church waiting for her to come home, according to what was said in this interview, and then solicited her to come outside and say hi to him. Now, what's strange about all of this is the officer that worked here, the family has no idea how they know him. They have no mutual friends together. They have nothing. But that's exactly what's happening here at this agency. The officer resigned, and if you don't remember the fallout, because I asked Dion Willie, I asked Mark Cheatham, the chief, and I asked Francis Melody back, I think, in February, what's going on with this? How come I'm hearing about an officer texting a 12-year-old? They all said, oh, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. They all turned a blind eye. None of these bastards in here took any report from me because they already knew the report was out there and there was nothing being done. Now, in this interview, this fire department gentleman that's in here, we're going to have this whole interview out probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight.
Oops, my apologies. I was muted there. So imagine that. None of them had anything to say. And can't imagine why. Aren't they going to investigate themselves? Oh, yeah, they always do. And guess what? They never find anything. Wait till you hear the end, right? And then what we were just discussing here.
Out probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight. Now, in this interview, this fire department gentleman that's in here, we're going to have this whole interview out probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight. What you're talking about. They all turned a blind eye. None of these bastards in here took any report from me because they already knew the report was out there and there was nothing being done.
Kind of like the pothole situation, huh? Remember the pothole one earlier? They know it's there. She's been reporting it and complaining about it. They don't do anything. Imagine that. They're not going to do anything until the whole community reaches out and lashes back. You have to hold these people accountable for their already paid obligations under the tax system. They already got paid to do this shit. They better be doing it, and they better be doing it with integrity. That is what the public record demands. Integrity. Hold them to it. Only you can. They won't do it themselves.
Now, in this interview, this fire department gentleman that's in here, we're going to have this whole interview out probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight. He said in this interview that he went out and reported this to the city about 6 to 7 months before this. This is all after I came and confronted the chief. This is all after I brought it out. But Brian Craig, the lieutenant, I think, or captain, whatever he is now, in this interview was so concerned about who was talking and where they were getting this information from that they just didn't even look at the investigation themselves. It's pretty sad, but it doesn't stop there. This department up here, this is the agency that filed the stalking injunction against me, and I have a really strong feeling it was because of this. The chief, the deputy chief, and the officer resigned, and I asked some questions of Stacy Lopez in here. If you haven't seen that, it'll be down in the description. But I was asking these questions, and people were taking a mass exodus out of here. All the officers that I've talked to here says, man, whatever you did, these people left. They left with no retirement parties, no get-togethers, no congratulations, no cards. And they even got rid of another person at this agency, Don Kettler. There was a big mass exodus. I don't know why. No one knows, because they are so tight-lipped. But unfortunately, now we have this interview. We have the interview with the firefighter, and the stuff that is in there will make you sick. I spoke to the chief briefly out in the back of the parking lot here.
It makes me sick just knowing that we have, again, a situation where it's just so out of balance. It's just as bad as the pedophilia that goes on in the Catholic Church that we heard about in the past. And I don't see why people I don't understand why people don't see how systemic it is, not just in the church, but in society itself. Teachers, public workers, firefighters, police officers, city council members, judges, state elected officials. When is enough going to be enough? When are you going to have enough evidence to learn how to stand up as a whole and say, we've had enough, and quit letting the single man stand by himself with no power because everybody else doesn't want to support him for fear of losing their fucking job?
And I told him about some stuff right inside here. James Travell. James Travell was a witness that was at court with Stacy Lopez, and he was going to testify that I make threats to these people. Well, what did James Travell do today? He released every identifying characteristic of this person, this 12-year-old, to me after he charged me for what he was supposed to be redacting it. James Travell shouldn't have a job. Stacey Lopez shouldn't have a job. None of the people that had anything to do with covering this case up should have a job.
Systemically, nobody that has anything to do with covering up bullshit about men with little girls should have a job. If you don't understand your innate and imperative responsibility and obligation of raising your children and taking care of little boys and girls as moms and dads, that's on you.
But they do, and that's the problem. We're going to get this interview out here. There's way more to unpack to it. F. Daily is investigating, I'm told, but we'll see. You can't trust any of these law enforcement right here, and you can't trust any of them that will text your 12-year-old child, and then they all cover it up. Anybody that said, I don't know what you're talking about, you're a liar, you need to be out of law enforcement, you have no backbone, and fuck you.
Spineless, and yeah, I agree. Fuck you. So the
New
next
charges
one,
today.
Let me get it pulled up here, is sickening because it goes to an extreme where somebody does stand up and they take him out. This is the grossest neglect of an entire society that stands by and allows this kind of grotesque bullshit to happen. It's murder. A real good dad, man who reported rape of daughter, was killed after refusing bribe, police say. Let me read that again. KSDK News. A real good dad, man who reported rape of daughter, was killed, murdered, as I say, after refusing bribe, police say. So when they want to try to censor your language and you want to cuck up and say grape, fuck you. It's rape. Call it out for what it is. It's murder.
Today in the murder of a Ferguson man who reported the rape of his own daughter. 3 family members stand indicted for the murder of Corey Warren, who was gunned down after refusing a bribe to drop charges in a sexual assault case. Our Megan Kernan is live outside the Ferguson Police Department, where prosecutors announced indictments just hours ago.
Corey Warren's best friend tells me he was the best person on earth and a great father. His family still hasn't come back home since the killing. And these 3 men are now charged, accused of working together to silence that father, murdering him and then murdering their own hitman.
One of the most senseless acts of violence that I've reached and have seen this year.
Ferguson.
An act of implosion, as our friend Nude Guru stated. You don't need the whole to defend yourself, just you and a few others as necessary. Let the rest self-implode as they so dearly love to. Prime example, but at an extreme cost. The father of a girl that was raped, a family destroyed, first and foremost, in order for anybody to implode. So again, I urge you to watch out for the abyss so it doesn't happen. And this is by preventing people to be put in those positions to do so.
Police Chief Troy Doyle says Corey Warren.
Keep back in the blue.
Warren's killing was calculated, cruel, and personal. On July 8th, officers say Corey Warren was shot through the glass door of his Ferguson home that you can still see 3 months later.
He's a real good dad.
You know, I couldn't ask for a better neighbor.
Investigators say Warren was shot after refusing a $12,000 bribe to stay quiet about charges against LaVor Harmon, accused of raping Warren's daughter. Prosecutors say Harmon, his uncle Anthony L. Young, and cousin Anthony D. Young coordinated Warren's murder with their associate, Andrew Klaus, who later that same day was also shot and killed. All three men now face 2 counts of first-degree murder, armed criminal action, and felonies like statutory rape.
I would have never thought something like this would happen around here.
Neighbor Hugh Deberly was home the day Warren was killed.
Next thing I know, I heard about 4 or 5 gunshots. Then I seen them running across my yard into a car, and they took off. They tried to revive him, and his kids are out there crying.
Warren's neighbors remember him as a devoted dad and friend.
Well, they took a person's life. You know, a person was trying to do right, and they killed him for it.
How many times are we going to let them take the good men, destroy good, solid, founded families, supported by strong, very protective fathers? How long are we going to let this continue? How many times does it happen? Are you going to back the blue until it happens to you? Are you going to let the authority trickle up? Or are you going to accept it as it trickles down and just let it flow the way it's meant to?
So they should have to pay too.
Prosecutors said this was not being charged as a murder for hire plot, but that could change if evidence points to that. Harmon is held on a $2 million bond in St. Louis County, and the Youngs are in federal custody, also on $2 million bonds each. Live in Ferguson, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
You guys remember Ferguson, don't you? Just a reminder. Just a reminder. So let's take a look at another one. The last one I got, a short clip. And it's one of the reasons that I stand out, because I don't have children. But I have someone I have to look out for. And I'm not going to back down. It says why paying attention to detail matters. See, a lot of people don't want to pay attention to details. They catch surface things and want to prejudge things and use their discernment in a skewed way of projection. False accusations, intimations, nuances.
Sarge, stop the car. What? Pull over. Hello, sir.
Hey.
You okay?
I'm great, son. How are you?
My name's Tommy.
Oh, I'm Remy.
Okay, Remy. Well, we just wanted to make sure everything's all right.
What? Can't.
And again, this is just a setup scene. It's just a scenario. It's not real, but it's a portrayal of something that is very real.
And are you on your way somewhere?
Oh, and down to Broadway Street, son.
Right. Where is that, Remy?
A honky-tonk highway.
Remy, tell me this. What's your surname?
Surname? Don't know.
Well, do you mind if I had a wee look in your pockets?
I don't smoke anymore, son. I gave that stuff up years ago.
No, I just want to check for ID. That's all.
Oh. All right, so.
Raymond McEwen, 12th to the 12th, 1955.
Uniform from 7-2. Do we have an active Herbert protocol form for a Raymond McEwen?
7-2 from uniform, roger that. Missing from his daughter's house since this morning. Found him?
Yeah, we did. How do you know?
Look.
You guys see that?
Look.
He's got one shoe on and one slipper on. There are subtle signs, very subtle. That's a nuance.
Bloody hell, mate. Do you want a lift? Oh, where?
I speak out because my companion has dementia, folks. I have someone I have to look out for. And like I said, I'm not going to back down. A real man does know how to protect. I urge everybody, all you Christians, well, all you Abrahamic religious people, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian, to read the Christian scripture, Isaiah 54, in whole, where it speaks about, sing, O barren one, though thou didst not travail with child, for there are more desolate children than there are of the married wife. And then the last verse talks about there, no tongue or no weapon formed against thee shall prosper, and thee shall rise against any tongue that places judgment against you. This is the inheritance of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So whether you believe in the Christian scriptures or not, the basic moral principle there, again, is all fathers, all mothers. Your basic obligation, your innate imperative responsibility in life is to look after the children, to adopt them into your good morals and ethics, to bring them up in those ways, despite any comforts and convenience that might sway them. Keep them hardened. Life isn't just about fun, fun, joy, joy, happy, happy. Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. Happy Halloween, trick-or-treats. Real life has its ups and downs, and you can smooth them out by being prepared, precautious, and protective. And that's something for both moms and dads, imperatively. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today. I'm going to end it with the one more replay. You guys know me. I love you. But I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you disrespect me. And that part's on you. So may God bless you and have a good day.
Hold up, grab my soda cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape ape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes, or a gorilla in a cape. It's the good shit, just one hit. You so lit, you fall into a bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan. How you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation. You're a cheap imitation. Dark set hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna And I'm already it, so take over, it's been done, big.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Productions.